I'm Juliet. When it comes to the sport of kings, I only trust one source, Past the Wire TV.
There are all kinds of ways to prepare to go into battle. I prefer this.
Sure, bad coffee.
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Ciao tutti, and welcome to another Past the Wire TV. Hope everybody is well. I don't know how we're going to do better than we did last week, but the best part of last week is that I was inundated with messages, emails, texts, you name it, social media messages, whatever, from people who watched the show and won because of what we discussed in that stake last week at Gulfstream Park. So we're going to go back to Gulfstream Park this week and see if we can do it again. Clip that. Just that's what makes all of this worth it, and why I love doing this. I love getting those kind of messages as opposed to the ones that we get when we're not right, which can be pretty harsh. But these good ones, they make up for that tenfold. So everybody that reached out, thank you. Everybody that did well, good job, well played. Tracking trips, we had a on fire week last week. Anybody that bailed going into last week, mistake. We had $30 horses all over the place. Just a really, really strong week. And if you bet right, you made it count. And I hope that most of you did that, because we were certainly the predator, not the fish food for sure. Which is what we try and do. So what we're going to try and do this week is rev it up once again and see if we can go back to back and again make it count, because that is, after all, what we try and do. So we're going to look at the numbers and patterns on the Harlan's holiday. We're going to take a high-level look at the past performances, and see if we could come up with something that mirrors last week's result. Like I said, I don't know how we're going to do any better. That horse was 10-1 on the morning line. Wound up going off second choice at 5-2. Hey, probably a lot of us helped that happen. 10-1 was probably a little bit too much to hope for, but hey, we got the money, and a win is a win. So the Harlan's holiday, nice race for older horses starting out the Gulfstream Winter or Championship meet, as they like to call it. And we'll see exactly what it is that we can do with it. Decent field, not stellar. Might see one or two of these horses in the Pegasus. We'll see. But let's start from the rail with Hold My Bourbon, who comes from the Safi Joseph barn. 4-year-old, didn't start at 2, ran a bunch of times at 3, and has run a bunch of times this year at 4. We'll go back to the beginning of this year. 11 and 3/4, 6 1/4, 15 1/2, 6 1/4, 3 1/4 kind of catches the eye, 9 3/4, 3 1/4 again, 5 at Keeneland last time out. You know, interesting little pattern developing late in this horse's career. And he kind of showed a flash of it at 3. You know, at 3, his numbers were men's amens, and then he threw at Keeneland the 6 1/4. Comes off a 5 at Keeneland, but if we look at his last 4 races, we got 3 1/4, 9 1/4, 3 1/4, 5. He didn't regress last time while developing a slight Z-type pattern. But now he comes back to Gulfstream. His last races were Keeneland, Park, Saratoga. It's hard to argue that Safi Joseph doesn't do his best work at Gulfstream Park. I would say that, he clearly does. He's got this horse coming back to Gulfstream Park. Although this horse has run well in other places, I got to think that Z pattern coming back to a good race. He goes back to that 3 1/4, maybe even passes it at Gulfstream Park. So live, like the pattern, and looks live. Safi's other horse, the big horse, or one of his big horses, obviously I would have to say White Barrio is the big horse, but is Skippy Longstocking, who's been, a hard knocker for a long time. He's in his 6-year-old campaign, ran a bunch of times at 3, at 4, at 5, and now at 6. And he's been throwing zeros his entire career. And when things go right, we know the horse can run. But what do we see here? Let's look at his 6-year-old year, because this is what matters. He was super consistent at 5, and pretty consistent and improving at 4. But he's 6. So let's look now. 0 1/2, 0, 2, 0 1/2. Then from Santa Anita, lays off several months. Saratoga, 5 1/2. Charlestown, 22. That's the day he just fell apart when everybody and their sister thought that he was going to win. Present company excluded. I don't like it. Coming back to Gulfstream, scary. Safi, Gulfstream, scary. Probably the fastest numbers in the race. We haven't done everybody yet, but those zeros, 0 negatives all over the place, 1 negative, they jump out at you. I mean, he runs back to any of those, the races for second. But he's coming off 2 tailing numbers, 5 1/2, 22. Can he bounce back? Absolutely. But I'm leery. I'm leery of the 6-year-old. I'm leery. Even at Gulfstream, even knowing he's gotten a lot of races. I mean, even at 3, he's got a 1 negative. So he's been running faster than any of these have ever dreamed about running yet. Since he was 3. Now he's 6. But again, when does he start to tail and lose that? And have we seen that hint of that at this point? And I would have to say it can go either way, but I'm more of the inclination that we're seeing it. Now, when we get to the past performances, we may revise that opinion. We'll see when we get there. Catalytic, Antonio Sano, almost started at 2, but was a vet scratch. Some races at 3, bunch of races at 4, 5, 9, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 2, 9 1/2, 13 1/2. Oh, I'm sorry, 13 3/4. He was looking good, and then he kind of went the wrong way. He was also a vet scratch at 3. So we got a horse that's a vet scratch at 2, a vet scratch at 3, has not yet been a vet scratch at 4, but his numbers are going the wrong way. 2, 9 1/2, 13 3/4. I'm going to vote nay on that pattern. Classic, of course, Patrick Biancone, who treated us so well last week. What's he going to do for us this week with Classic, of course? This horse ran a lot of times at 2, and he's run his share at times even more at 3. 13 and a quarter, 8.5, 8.5, 13, 8.5, 7 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 7.5. Well, he finally made that nice jump forward that we were looking for with the 4 1/4 and then 4 3/4, and then he tailed off, albeit on the synthetic. If that race wasn't, and I believe it was on the synthetic, if that race wasn't on the synthetic, I might be more apt to discount him. But I'm not, because it was. So I tend to think, back on the main track, this is a horse that can go forward. And from the 4s, how forward does he have to go? Well, obviously, if Skippy Longstocking wakes up from his nap, then he probably has to go at least 4 points forward to win this thing. But if he doesn't wake up from his nap, Skippy Longstocking, then he's only got to maybe go 2 points, and I can certainly see that. So, not the best or clearest looking pattern in the race for sure, but certainly one that can get the job done here. Now we've got the lightly raced poster. Only a couple of starts at 3, and only a couple of starts at 2. At 3, we got 4 1/4, 9, 6. His 2-year-old, pattern, I'll just go over because it's brief: 13.5, 12, 6 3/4. So he's got a 6 3/4. He did go past it in his first start at 3, 4 1/4. That was at Tampa on the main track. He's now back on the main track. He's only had 2 starts on the main track, and those are, 2 of his better Thorograph numbers. So on the main track, if you just look at that, you see 6 3/4, 4 1/4. So let's get a little cute and let's get a little outside the box. Let's just look at the dirt numbers and say, here's a very lightly raced horse getting back on the dirt where he's steadily improving. So from 4 1/4 with the 1 race under the belt, and he did improve both starts, second off the layoff in his short career. So it makes sense for him to improve again. Where's he got to go? He's, again, if Skippy wakes up from that nap we discussed, then he's got to go 4 points forward. But a lightly raced horse like this, I'm more inclined to say can do it than some of the horses that had, more starts. So where can he go off that 4? I would say he can go 3 or 4 points forward, and that makes him extremely, extremely dangerous, in my opinion. Racing Driver, which, if I wasn't a professional handicapper, is what I would have loved to have done. I mean, what could be more thrilling than being a Formula One driver? Although very few Americans get there, especially nowadays. There's 20 seats, going to be 22 seats on that grid. Good luck earning your way to one of them, or even buying your way to one of them, because you're going to need some really deep pockets. Racing Driver. A couple of starts at 2, a bunch of starts at 3 for Gustavo Delgado. First time out, he loses the rider at 3, then he goes 10.5, 9 3/4, 11 1/4, 7.5, 9, 7.5, 11, 6. Kind of a Z pattern, kind of going the wrong way, doesn't look fast enough, and doesn't look like he's got anything that, is jumping out at me to say, peak race coming where he's going to go forward enough to be competitive here. Con Campagna for Bobby DeBona. This is a South American import who's running fast here in his 5-year-old career. Very interesting pattern. 10.5, 7, 4.5, 7, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. Oh, I'm sorry, 2.5, 2 3/4, 2.5. He's got those 3 2s in a row. That's a scary pattern to me. I always think when you get that steady progression or those steady fast numbers, the 4th race is kind of the key/pivotal race where we're either going to see a big jump forward, or we're going to see a regression, or we're going to see that is what he is, and he's going to just be consistent around there until he starts to tail off. This is one that kind of looks like peak race could possibly be coming. So we'll see what he's doing this against in the past performances, because he's going to have to show us there that he can do this against this caliber of horses. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But strictly on the pattern, very live pattern, very dangerous pattern, and certainly a pattern that's fast enough to suggest that he could win this race, especially if he goes forward. So there we have the Thorograph numbers and patterns in a nutshell. Hold My Bourbon was, let's say, sneaky. Skippy Long Stocking was obvious, but I voted nay for my own dissect and devour and dig deep reasons. Catalytic was a no, going the wrong way. Classic, of course, was a maybe. Poster was extremely dangerous and live. Racing Driver was a no. And Con Campagna was definitely live and dangerous. So we will see what the past performances have to say. And here we go. Hold My Bourbon. Safi's other horse, who we thought was capable. Interestingly enough, it's a Safi horse that he's only had for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starts. It's his first try at Gulfstream Park, and obviously his first try at Gulfstream Park for Safi Joseph. I still think he can run back to his best number and go, forward. He was dusted by Bookham Dano sprinting, but where he's supposed to be. His form is okay. He really hasn't, done all that much, especially when in tough company. I tend to think somebody's going to be better than him. He's got IRAD on the rail. That's going to, hurt his price and help his chances at the same time. But I don't think IRAD is going to be able to do enough to get this guy home for my money. Skippy Long Stocking, only 3 for 11 at Gulfstream Park, which is kind of surprising when we look at it. 4 for 5 at the distance, but 3 for 11 at Gulfstream Park, Safi's home base, with one of his hard knockers. But he does like to send this horse all over the place. The last 2 races are atrocious. In the Whitney, he was up the track. In the Charlestown Classic, which we can probably draw a line through, he was beaten 40 lengths. And if you remember that race, that's that bull ring of a track. He just was up there on the pace and just said, that's it, I'm done, and stopped and literally eased on that final turn of, I think, was it 3 or 4 turns that race, whatever it is, the last turn. He just said, I'm done, and just, packed it in and got beat 40 lengths. Before that, he won the Gold Cup at Santa Anita. Was 3rd to first mission in the Oakland Handicap. Won the Challenger at Tampa. He's rock solid when he's riding at his best, but off those last 2 races at a short price, not having shown an affinity for Gulfstream Park, I'm willing to take a stand against him. He goes back to those races. We know he can easily win. Easily win it. If he goes back to those races, unless somebody jumps up and runs huge, the race is probably for 2nd. But at a short price, I'm willing to take a shot against it. Clip that. Catalytic. Catalytic looked too slow on the Thorograph numbers and patterns. This is a horse that does have somewhat of an affinity for Gulfstream Park. With 9 starts, he's got 3 wins in 6 seconds, but not against this type and not fast enough. He's one that was trained by Safi Joseph, now trained by Antonio Sano, and has not run as good as he did for Safi for Antonio for whatever reason. So he remains a no, and overall, he's 3 for 13 with 7 seconds. So on top of all the other knocks, and even though he ran in the Kentucky Derby way back when, He's a little bit of a seconditis. He did run second to Fierceness in the Florida Derby when Fierceness smoked him a couple of years ago, but that was then. This is now. Pass for me. Classic, of course, a horse that we found interesting on the Thorograph numbers and patterns, but he's not really doing it against this caliber. We see some starter handicaps. He's around the money. He does like Gulfstream. He did lose to Con Compagni, who we talked about. When he's faced good ones, he was dusted. I don't know if he's got as much upside as the lightly raced Poster does. Poster gets Pratt, second off the layoff, has gone forward both times, second off the layoff. We isolated his dirt races on Thorograph. And as of now, based on everything I'm seeing, 4 for 6 lifetime, I would say he's my top choice, and that's where I'm going to land. Unless we see something that changes my mind with these next couple. Gustavo Delgado's got Racing Driver in there. He did win a race against, lesser non-winner of 1 optional claimer last time out. He just doesn't look as good as some of these. He's kind of an in and outer on the form. Win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win. Saturday, lose. If that pattern repeats itself, I'm going to pass on him. Con Compagnia. This is the most interesting one I think we've got to look at, because he's got those 3 twos that, really jumped out at me on the Thorograph numbers and patterns. First time Bobby DeBona. Okay. Bobby DeBona first time out is about 25, 26%. That's pretty good. He's 2 for 4 at the meet, 50%. Young meet, not a lot of starts, but 50% with 4 starts is still damn good. He's 22% for the year. This guy's, he's doing right with his horses. He's putting them in the right spots and he's winning races. So he's taking this horse from Amador Sanchez, and he's running okay against lesser for Sanchez. He ran against who knows what in Chile, where he's from, but I don't see any grade 1 or group 1 or even group 2 races over there in Chile. So he wasn't running against the best of the best over there. And he certainly hasn't been running against the best of the best over here. He's got some speed. He can stalk. I do like Mauricio Vasquez. He's kind of an underrated radar guy over there at Gulfstream and in Tampa. When he goes there, he can ride. But I tend to think we got a better shot of the forward move from Poster than we do from him. But if this guy jumps up and wins this race, it will not surprise me at all. And if I wind up betting a pick 4 or pick 5 or something like that, I may use them both and then go back at Poster, but use both of these unless I just get stubborn and stick with Poster. So I'm going to say Poster is my top choice for the reasons I pointed out. The Thorograph pattern says he's going to go forward. The 2 forward moves, second off a layoff in his career, tell me he's going to go forward. Pratt has won on him before. He's 4 for 6. He did run into Remsen and win it. Did run into Sam Davis and run pretty good. I gotta say he's where I'm going to land. So it's going to be Poster for me in the Harlan's Holiday, knowing clear well that I can lose to Con Compagnia and again Skippy Longstocking if he decides to hear that alarm clock and wake up from the nap. But hopefully we get at least a fair second choice price on Poster. I don't think he'll be, more than the second choice. I think he'll probably wind up the second choice and be, quote, like they like to say, the wise guy horse or whatever, or the horse that takes a lot of the money, especially with Pratt. You lose a point or two or a half a point with Pratt, but you get a better chance of winning the race too at the same time. So it's an offset you're either willing to take or not willing to take, depending on the circumstances. So with that is our high level look at the Harlan's Holiday with Thorograph numbers and patterns, which you can get for free. PassTheWire.com, follow the Thorograph ad links, write to Thorograph, follow the prompts, you get them for free, or go to Thorograph. I don't know exactly where it is on the Thorograph site, but you find the Pass the Wire race of the week on the Thorograph site, follow the prompts, bang. A lot of people telling me they're using Thorograph more, they're understanding it more, they're appreciating the shows. If you're one of those people, hit the like button, consider subscribing, and definitely, as we go forward, what I would love for some of you to do, and you have been doing it, is let me know the races you want to see in the future. We're definitely going to do at least one race on the big Santa Anita card after Christmas on the 26th when Santa Anita opens the Malibu card. I don't know which race we're going to do yet. We'll see. But let me know the races that you want me to target during the year for next year. The sooner I know, the better. I try and get them in. And with that, you'll probably hear from me before the holiday. But if you don't, for whatever reason, you and all of yours have a wonderful, and merry, healthy, happy, and blessed Christmas. Don't lose sight of what Christmas is all about. Enjoy it, embrace it, and feel the love and the warmth in a world where sometimes we certainly don't have enough of that around lately. And we're all somewhat guilty of that in our own ways. So we'll all kind of pull together and try and work together and do better at that. And for those of you that have a hard time on the holidays, remember one thing and never forget it. You're not alone. There's a lot of people that struggle on the holidays for all different types of reasons. And some of them are very, very, very legit reasons. I understand that. I get that. You need somebody to reach out to. I'm here. And if I could help you, I will. So with that, we'll be in touch. Ciao for now. Oh yeah. And ciao for now. Are they talking about us? Shh. Wait. Are they talking about us? I think I heard Pass the Wire. Pass the Wire TV. They are talking about us. Often imitated, never duplicated. We are everywhere. Seriously? If you're betting horses and not watching these shows, you gotta be freaking crazy. Capiche?
You're watching Pass the Wire TV.
And ladies and gentlemen, we direct your attention to the winner's circle for a very special presentation. Representatives from Handicapping for Horses, along with professional handicapper Jonathan Stetton, are proud to support the work of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Accepting the check for the inaugural Handicapping for Horses event this past summer at Saratoga are representatives from the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and Old Friends. Gulfstream Park welcomes Michael Blowen, Jonathan Stetton, Kelly Stovey, Jim Rhodes here this afternoon. Since 2012, the TAA has awarded more than $17.2 million to accredited organizations. Handicapping for Horses looks to make their Saratoga Springs event larger and raise money for Thoroughbreds Aftercare year after year. Once again, thank you to Handicapping for Horses, Jonathan Stetton, and welcome to Old Friends, and our friends at the TAA. The Rainbow Six and race number 5 up next.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, the biggest races at the best tracks. From the Kentucky Derby to the Breeders' Cup. The best horse racing coverage is right here on Past the Wire TV.
Doppelgangers, the longest shot of the field.
A dynasty in motion, reshaping the sport's greatest tradition, channeling the legends of his line and surpassing them. 4 of the last 6 Derby winners carry his genes. A Golden Son, a Horse of the Year. Another chapter written beneath those iconic spires. Derby dreams fulfilled for the titans of our industry. From authentic to sovereignty, a legacy both real and supreme. Into mischief.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better.